Hi everybody, it's your human anatomy and physiology teacher, Mr. Poser. Today we're getting into the second video in our unit on blood, and I believe this will be the final video in our unit on blood, and it is on blood typing and everything that has to come with it. How does blood type work? Why is there blood type? And how do you get your blood type? All of those questions will be answered in this video right here. So let's get started. What's the big deal with having blood type at all? Well, I mean, if you're, if you're really, really sick and you need, say, a liver transplant, or you get in a car accident and you lose a lot of blood, okay, you're going to need replacements from other people, right? And if they don't match up, if your blood type doesn't match up with the donor that you get an organ or you get blood from, well, then you're going to die. So that's not good at all. So this is why blood type is important. But let's chat about this here. Where does it come from? Blood type is determined genetically. All right, so there's no factors environmentally that are going to allow you to change your blood type. All right, so if you're type O, you can't be like, oh, I want to be AB because I want to be the universal recipient and everybody has to donate to me. You can't do that. Okay, it's genetically, you're born with it. That's it. You know. So what even is blood type? Well, it's what kind of antigens you have on the surface of your red blood cells. Okay, so here's your red blood cells down here. As we looked at in our last video, they're kind of like red donuts a little bit. And on every cell doesn't even matter. Every cell has some kind of antigen, which is it's a molecule that triggers an immune response. And it's like a little protein that sticks out of the plasma membrane of every cell. So like viruses have it, bacterial cells have it, all of your cells have antigens. And that doesn't exclude your blood. Okay, so what kind of antigens each of your red blood cells have, or your erythrocytes have, determines your blood type. Okay, so take a look at this picture. If you're type A, and if you know your blood type, then great. Mine's B. Okay, so I have B antigens on each one of my red blood cells. Okay, if you're type AB, that means you have both A antigens, or alpha antigens, and B antigens. Okay, so you have both types of these proteins sticking out of the cell membrane on your red blood cells. And if you have O, then you have neither. So you have one or the other, both, or neither when it comes to blood type. And these are our main four: A, B, AB, and O. Okay, so how is that determined at all? Well, blood type depends on the blood antigen genes that you get from your parents, as I mentioned before. Okay, so if your mom is type A and your dad is type AB, then if you're type O, then that's a problem, if you catch my drift. So how we can determine what blood type and how we can predict what blood types individuals are going to get, we can use simple genetics, simple Mendelian genetics through Punnett Squares. So hopefully you did those in like 7th grade or something, or in maybe one of my classes as well. So A and B alleles are dominant, while the O allele is recessive. Okay, so that means you get a gene, you get a variation of a gene for blood antigens. There's 3 variations. You could get A or B or O. You get one from mom and you get one from dad. And both of those alleles together make up what's called your genotype, and your genotype determines your phenotype. In this case, the phenotype is what kind of antigens do your blood cells have. Okay, so take a look at this diagram up here. Here's genotype and phenotype. If you have 2 A alleles, you got one A allele from mom, one A allele from dad, guess what? You're going to be blood type A. If you got one A and one O, you're going to be blood type A. Okay, same thing with B. If you get both Bs, one B from mom, one B from dad, you're going to be B. But also if you get B and O, you're going to be B still. You're going to have blood type B. So that's what A and B alleles are dominant while O is recessive. Okay, because if you have one or the other, that's what's going to be expressed on your blood cells, right? Okay, so that's what makes B and A dominant. All right, A and B, if you have them both together, they're both dominant, right? So this is actually a genetic, both of those at the same time. And if you have 2 O's, that's when you have blood type O. Okay, so this is what I mean, dominant and recessive. This is going to take a little bit of practice, right? So yeah, as I was saying, if you have one A allele and one B allele, you're type AB, and if you have two O's, you need to have both an O from mom and an O from dad in order to be blood type O. If you only have one O, okay, then that means you're either A or B. Okay? All right, so let's do some Punnett squares. This will this will create a clearer picture once we do these examples of Punnett squares. So yeah, Punnett squares like this can be used to predict the probabilities of inherited blood type. Okay, so let's just say, mom is blood type A. She has one A allele and one O allele, and your dad or your mom is blood type O. I don't know if I said mom and dad. Whatever. One parent's A, one parent's O. Okay, and this one parent that's A has one O allele too. Okay, so what are the probabilities of each blood type? Okay, so what you do is you cross these over and you put each new blood type, each new genotype, I should say, in each one of these boxes. So when we do that, okay, we get crossed with A and O, A and O, O and O, and O and O. Okay, so that means that if these are your parents, okay, there's a 50% chance that you're blood type A, 50% chance that you're blood type O, based on this prediction here. Okay, this is, it's genetics, right? You hopefully did this at some point in your life in a biology class or a biology-like class. Okay, so how about this? If one parent has a genotype of AO, which means their blood type is A, okay, but they only have one A allele, and then the other parent is blood type B, but they only have one B allele, okay, what are the probabilities now? Well, let's cross them. Okay, if we got A and B here, this is going to be AB, it's going to be BO, AO, and OO, right? So you have, thus, a 25% chance. Okay, that means 1 in 4 of these offspring will have a chance of being AB. They could be A, they could be B, or they could be O. Okay, that's how this works. All right. Yeah. So if you have both alleles, you're going to be AB. If you have one or the other, you're probably going to be A or B. And if you have neither A or B, you're going to be O. Okay. So in addition to the antigens that you get, okay, there's another type of plasma protein. We talked about plasma proteins in our last video. They're called antibodies, and these have been in the news recently, right? Antibodies are any kind of plasma proteins that detect and attack antigens that come from outside of the body. All right, so this is, I drew this picture myself. Okay, so if this is one of, I'm blood type B, I'm B positive, I live by that. It's a phrase, right? I'm going to be saying that again and again and again. But say this is one of my red blood cells. Okay, I drew that it has B antigens on it. Okay, I'm blood type B. I have B antigens. Okay, but what my blood also produces is anti-A antibodies. Okay, so these little triangle-shaped plasma proteins, they're floating around, hence the name, in the plasma. They're not on my red blood cells. Okay, these antibodies are floating around in the plasma. Okay, and why they're called anti-A is that, if I get some blood that's blood type A and it has the A antigens, that means these antibodies are going to attack the crap out of it, and I'm going to die. My body's own immune system will attack those blood cells, those A blood cells. If I get in a horrific accident and somebody donates me A blood, I'm going to die because my antibodies are going to attack those foreign cells. Those cells with the wrong type of antigens that say to my immune system, hey, this doesn't belong here. This isn't part of Mr. Poser, right? So there it is. Okay, so here's a summation of our 4 blood types. Okay, blood type A produces A antigens and anti-B antibodies, as we can see in this table. Blood type B produces B antigens, as you can see then from the picture, and anti-A antibodies, like me. And then blood type O, as you can see, produces neither antigen, as we talked about before, and as a result, it produces both anti-A and anti-B antibodies. Okay, so if you're blood type O and you get A or B or AB donated to you, you're gonna die. Sorry. But if you're AB, look it, you're producing both A and B antigens. That means you produce neither anti-A nor anti-B antibodies. Okay, so if you're AB, you can receive blood from somebody who's type A, you can receive blood from somebody who's type B, and you can receive O. Okay, because you don't have any any antibodies. Yeah. So AB is what we call the universal recipient. And there's one more step that comes to that, but we're going to talk about that in a second. Okay, and this is what I mean by you're going to die when you get the wrong blood type. When antibodies attack antigens that don't belong, that say like, hey, there are little signals. They're like, hey, this does not belong in this organism. Okay? Agglutination, or a clumping of red blood cells, occurs. So what happens is that these antibodies force these red blood cells to stick together and form clumps and clots, and that will stop your blood flow, and that's really, really serious. You could absolutely die from that. Okay. So like I said, if I receive A, okay, those antigens, those A antigens are going to be recognized by my anti-A antibodies. They're going to stick together, and I'm going to be in some serious trouble. And this is why blood typing matters when it comes to transfusions. Okay, so this is why the Red Cross really, really cares about this. All right, so if you feel like you can tackle this yourself, go for it. I left these blank, so I invite you to pause the video and see if you can figure out, okay, type A can donate to, who they can receive from, so on and so forth. So if you feel like you're ready to tackle this and you want to go back to one of those charts, go ahead and do that. I'm going to stop here. Okay, if you did it, go for it. I'm glad you did, but here come the answers, all right? So type A can donate to type A and type AB. Okay, AB is not going to have either of those antibodies, and if you're type A, you can donate to other type A's. You can receive from A and O. Type B can donate to B and AB, and they can receive from B and O. Type O can donate to, because they don't have any antigens on those red blood cells, they can donate to people who are type A, B, AB, and O. But because you have both types of antibodies, okay, you can't receive, if you're type O and you have both types of antibodies, you can't receive from A, B, AB, or AB. So you can only receive from O, but the opposite is true if you're type AB. You can only donate to other people that are AB, but you can receive, because you don't have any antibodies, you can receive from A, B, AB, and O. Okay, so that's the first component of blood typing. The other component is the Rh blood group, and that includes several what we call Rh antigens. Okay, so we got another class of antigens called the Rh antigens, and why they're called Rh is because they were first discovered in rhesus monkeys, but that's besides the point. Okay, so my blood type, as I said before, is B positive. Okay, B positive. I'm not just B, I'm B positive, right? So blood types with these antigens, with the Rh antigens, are considered positive. Blood types without these antigens are negative and contain the anti-Rh antibodies. Okay, so here's me over here. I'm B positive. That means I have the B antigens and I have the Rh antigens. Okay, which means that I do not produce, because I have the antigens, I don't produce the anti-Rh antibodies. But if I were B negative, that means I don't have the Rh antigens, but I produce the anti-Rh antibodies. So what does this mean? It's one more step when it comes to blood typing. Okay, this means that, I'll just cover up A here for a second because I'm using myself as an example. Rh minus blood can only be donated to Rh minus patients. Why is that? Well, think about this. If I'm B negative, okay, that means my body is producing anti-Rh antibodies. If I receive blood from somebody who's B positive, okay, B can donate to B. Not necessarily in this case. If I receive blood from somebody who's B positive, okay, my anti-Rh antibodies are going to attack the crap out of these Rh antigens, and it's going to agglutinate my blood, and I'm going to be screwed. Okay. But good thing I'm not B negative, I'm B positive, okay? And that means Rh positive or Rh negative blood can be donated to Rh blood or Rh plus patients. Okay, so that means if I need a lot of blood, I'm actually B positive. Okay, I can receive B minus blood, I can receive B negative blood, or I can receive B positive blood. Okay, so that means if you're negative, that means that you can't receive from as many individuals as you could if you were positive. Okay, so that means the two blood types, you've heard of these before, that are the universal recipient and the universal donor. The universal recipient is AB positive. Okay, think about it. They can get blood from A positive, A negative, B positive, B negative, O positive, O negative, AB positive, and AB negative. Okay, if you're AB negative, that means you can receive, you can get from A, B, and O and AB. right? But you can only get the negative types of those. So if you're AB negative, you can only get A negative, B negative, O negative, and AB negative. Okay? But it also means if you're negative here, if you're O negative, you're the universal donor. If you have O negative blood, your blood can be accepted by anybody. Okay? Because think about it. You don't have the A antigens, you don't have the B antigens, and you don't have the RH antigens, which means that your blood will be acceptable by everybody's antibodies. Okay? You have no antigens there. Right? But this also means that if you're O negative, the only blood type that you can receive from is also O negative. All right, we're going to be getting a lot of practice with this. So if this is confusing, we're going to practice the tar out of this. All right, let me know if you have any questions. I believe, yep, that's it. So yeah, we'll see you next time. Bye.